The movie opens during a violent thunderstorm when a girl attacks her parents inside their home. By the time the horrifying assault is over, both of them are dead. 4 years later, newly divorced Dr. Sarah Cassidy and her 17-year-old daughter Alyssa move into a wealthy suburb, hoping for a fresh start. Their new home is beautiful, surrounded by nature with a huge backyard overlooking a state park. But there is one unsettling detail. Right next door stands the abandoned house where the gruesome double murder took place 4 years earlier. Sarah jokes that the only reason they can even afford such a nice rental is because of what happened next door. However, she didn't expect the two houses to be so close together. From their windows, they have a clear view of the infamous property. Late that evening, as Sarah settles into the house, she notices a light switch on inside the supposedly abandoned home. The sight unsettles her because everyone had told them no one lived there anymore. The next day, Sarah and Alyssa head to a neighborhood potluck to meet the people living in the suburb. One of the mothers immediately starts bragging about her son Tyler, introducing him to Alyssa like he's the town's golden boy. She encourages him to spend some time with Alyssa so she can get to know people her own age. Meanwhile, Sarah corners their realtor. She tells him that she noticed a light inside the Jacobson house the previous night and asks if someone is living there after all. The realtor admits that Ryan Jacobson, the son of the murdered couple, still lives there. Sarah is surprised because that information was never mentioned before they signed the lease, but she forces a smile and lets the conversation drop. Later, while everyone is eating, the conversation turns to the house next door. Wanting to know the full story, Alyssa asks what actually happened there. A neighbor explains that 4 years earlier, Ryan's younger sister, Carrie Ann, murdered both of their parents. Ryan wasn't even living at the house at the time because he had been staying with an aunt upstate. After the murders, Carrie Ann disappeared. The authorities believed she drowned in the nearby dam, but since her body was never recovered, nobody could ever be completely certain what happened to her. Tyler jumps into the conversation, insisting that Carrie Ann is still alive and secretly lives somewhere in the surrounding woods. His mother rolls her eyes and calls it nothing more than an old urban legend. Then one woman says the Jacobson house should just be burned down. Instead of defending Ryan, the neighbors complain he's dragging down property values and reveal the town once tried to buy and demolish the house, but he refused to leave. Walking home afterward, Sarah asks Alyssa whether all those stories frightened her. Alyssa says what bothered her most was the way everyone talked about Ryan. She can't believe their new neighbors would joke about burning down his house simply because of something his sister did years ago, wondering where they keep their torches and pitchforks. Sarah admits she thought Tyler seemed like a decent kid, but Alyssa isn't so sure. The next day, Alyssa starts at her new school and Tyler invites her to a meeting for his famine relief group, and Alyssa agrees to go. When Tyler picks her up, he takes her what he claimed was a famine relief meeting, but it's actually a house party. Tyler explains to Alyssa that last year their group raised $1,200 for Stop Hunger Now, but the money came from his dad's credit card instead of them standing outside stores asking strangers for donations. The whole thing was mostly so they could list community service on their college applications. Alyssa is impressed and calls it a smarmy brilliance. While looking for the bathroom, she stumbles across a girl who is completely wasted. Alyssa tucks her in and makes sure she's okay. Not long after, Tyler finds Alyssa alone and tries to kiss her. She tells him to stop, but Tyler keeps pushing himself on her until she shoves him away and storms out of the party. Instead of asking anyone for a ride, Alyssa decides to walk home, even though it's nearly 10 miles away. As thunder rumbles overhead and rain clouds roll in, a car pulls up beside her. She tries calling her mom, but the call goes straight to voicemail. The driver turns out to be Ryan Jacobson. Knowing who he is, Alyssa politely refuses his offer to drive her home. Ryan points out that she's still miles from home and a storm is about to hit, but she insists she'll wait for her mom instead. Moments later, the rain starts pouring, leaving her with little choice but to accept the ride. The drive is awkward at first, but the two quickly hit it off. Alyssa apologizes for bringing up what happened to Ryan's parents, but he tells her it's fine because everyone around town thinks about it anyway. When she asks why he still lives in the house where the murders happened, Ryan explains that he was sent away to live with his aunt when he was 7, so the house is the only real connection he has left to his family. Still, living there has become too painful, so he's slowly fixing it up with plans to eventually sell it. Ryan then admits he heard Alyssa singing from across the yard that morning and says she has a beautiful voice. She tells him she used to sing in a band back in Chicago and that her father was a musician too. She laughs when she notices he's still listening to cassette tapes, joking that he desperately needs some newer music. Ryan then drops her off at home, and as she gets out of the car, her mom finally calls back. When Sarah arrives home later that night, she asks how Alyssa got back. Hearing that Ryan Jacobson gave her a ride immediately puts her on edge. Back at the Jacobson house, Ryan prepares a tray of food and carries it down to the basement. After unlocking a heavy door, he is suddenly attacked by a wild-looking young woman chained inside the room. Ryan manages to restrain her long enough to inject her with a sedative. Calling her Carrie Ann, he asks why she keeps doing this when all he's trying to do is take care of her. He then warns her that they have new neighbors and tells her to stay away from Alyssa. The following day at school, Alyssa runs into the girl she helped at the party. Jillian thanks her for taking care of her after she got sick and apologizes for Tyler's behavior, admitting he has always been a jerk. The two quickly become friends, and Jillian introduces Alyssa to her older brother and his best friend. After discovering that Alyssa used to sing in a band back in Chicago, they invite her to join them for rehearsals and possibly perform with them at the upcoming Battle of the Bands. Alyssa promises she'll listen to their music first and says she'll stop by if she likes what she hears. Meanwhile, Sarah can't shake the uneasy feeling she has about Ryan, so she decides to speak with the town's police officer, Bill Weaver. She asks whether Ryan is someone she should be worried about. To Sarah's surprise, Officer Weaver immediately comes to Ryan's defense. He explains that Ryan was living with his elderly aunt when his parents were murdered and that he personally had to tell the boy what had happened. Bill insists Ryan has never caused any trouble and believes the townspeople treat him unfairly simply because of his family's past. Instead of fearing Ryan, Officer Weaver thinks people should be showing him compassion. The next day, Alyssa decides to stop by Ryan's house and brings him a CD filled with songs from her old band. Ryan is surprised by the gesture and a little embarrassed when she catches him listening to her music while scrolling through her old MySpace page. Looking around the house, Alyssa notices Ryan has stocked up on a huge amount of groceries. He explains that he doesn't like going into town more than he has to, so he buys everything in bulk. He then shows her the unfinished part of the house, where he's slowly renovating the place himself before eventually putting it up for sale. While exploring, Alyssa notices an old family photograph. Ryan points out his parents and his younger sister Carrie Ann, saying she used to be the heart of the family. But after an accident changed everything, he was sent away to live with his aunt. Alyssa wanders into Carrie Ann's old bedroom. She's surprised to find it looks more like a little girl's room than a teenager's. Ryan explains that Carrie Ann suffered brain damage after falling from a swing when they were children. He blames himself because he was supposed to be watching her that day. Ever since the accident, she was never the same. She would scream, become violent, destroy things around the house, and constantly run off into the woods. Ryan explains that the bars on the windows were installed to keep Carrie Ann from escaping. Alyssa thanks him for opening up to her and heads home. Once she's gone, Ryan walks down to the basement to check on his sister, who is still asleep from the sedative. Lost in thought, he accidentally leaves the basement door unlocked. Later that evening, Sarah asks Alyssa how her day went. Alyssa mentions she stopped by Ryan's house to give him the CD, which worries her mother. Sarah accuses Alyssa of trying to save Ryan, saying she's always been drawn to damaged people and wants to fix them. Alyssa insists that's not what she's doing, but Sarah warns her that some people simply can't be fixed. Not long after, Karen wakes up and realizes the basement door has been left unlocked. She slips outside and makes her way through the woods toward Alyssa's house. Ryan soon discovers she's gone and chases after her. Alyssa hears strange noises outside and goes to investigate. Just as she's about to open the door, she's startled by someone standing outside, who turns out to be her new friend Jillian. Hidden nearby, Carrie Ann tries to cry out, but Ryan catches up to her just in time, covering her mouth and dragging her back before Alyssa notices anything is wrong. The next day, Sarah decides to invite Ryan over for dinner, hoping to finally get to know the mysterious boy living next door. At first, The evening goes surprisingly well. But Sarah keeps firing questions at Ryan, asking how he can afford to keep such a big house and what his plans are for the future. Ryan explains that he inherited both the house and some money after his parents died. He also says he's attending community college while earning the credits he needs to apply for pre-med because he wants to become a psychiatrist. Already annoyed by her mother's interrogation, Alyssa points out that Sarah spent years seeing a psychiatrist herself after divorcing her dad. Ryan simply thanks Sarah for the dinner and admits they're the first people to invite him into their home since his parents died. The comment only makes Sarah feel more guilty, but she still doesn't back down. She finally says what has really been on her mind. She points out that Alyssa is still in high school, while Ryan is already in college, and tells him she doesn't want the two of them spending time alone together, either in his house or in hers. Ryan says he understands and gets up to leave. The second Ryan leaves, Alyssa yells at her mom for treating him like everyone else in town. The next day, Sarah vents to Officer Weaver about how badly things have been going with Alyssa, admitting she's trying to be a better mother but keeps pushing her away. Meanwhile, Alyssa vents to Jillian about the disastrous dinner and how unfairly her mom treated Ryan. Wanted to make things right, she asks Ryan to pick them up after school. Ryan hesitates, reminding her that Sarah doesn't want them spending time alone together. But Alyssa points out that Jillian will be with them, so they're not actually breaking the rule. Jillian reluctantly gets into the car with Ryan. After dropping her off, the two are finally alone. Just then, Sarah calls to say she's been stuck working another late shift and reminds Alyssa of their agreement not to be alone with Ryan. Alyssa promises she won't, but as soon as she hangs up, she reveals that she secretly forwarded all of Sarah's calls from the house phone to her own cell, so her mom would think she was safely at home. Ryan takes Alyssa back to his house, where they continue talking. Alyssa admits she likes the way he looks at the world and, more importantly, the way he looks at her. The two finally kiss. But upstairs, Carrie-Anne wakes up. As Ryan walks away to put on some music, she slips out of the basement and wanders into the house, carrying a kitchen knife. Ryan spots Carrie-Anne first and panics. Without explaining anything, he frantically orders Alyssa to leave, confusing and upsetting her as she heads back home. Meanwhile, Carrie-Anne escapes into the woods and stumbles across a parked car where two teenagers are making out. The girl catches a glimpse of her and screams. Ryan races after Carrie-Anne and catches her just as she's screaming and fighting to get away. Terrified that the couple will discover them, he accidentally snaps her neck. The teenagers drive away, never realizing what happened. Left alone with his sister's lifeless body, Ryan breaks down in tears, begging her to wake up as he cradles her in his arms. Before sunrise the next morning, Ryan places Carrie-Anne's body in the trunk of his car and secretly buries her in the woods. Still devastated by what happened, he stops at a diner where a friendly waitress named Peggy notices he's having a rough day and kindly offers him breakfast. Later, Ryan calls Alyssa and asks if they can meet because there's something important he needs to tell her. She tells him she's performing at the Battle of the Bands that evening and asks him to come. Ryan shows up at the school, but Tyler and his friends spot him and start taunting him. The confrontation soon turns violent. Outnumbered, Ryan fights back and ends up breaking Tyler's legs before escaping on foot as the others smash up his car. Tyler's friends decide to get revenge by driving to Ryan's house and setting it on fire. Alyssa sees what they're doing and races inside, hoping to stop the fire before it spreads. Meanwhile, Sarah is working at the hospital when Tyler is brought in with two broken legs. Officer Weaver is there dealing with Tyler's parents, and Sarah worries Alyssa might be with Ryan. She calls home to check on her, but Alyssa lies that she's safely at home. Inside Ryan's house, Alyssa finds a box of tampons in the kitchen bin, even though Ryan supposedly lives alone. She follows a noise downstairs and discovers a locked room hidden beneath the house. The door suddenly bursts open and Carrie-Anne attacks her. But then Ryan rushes in, restrains her, and begs Alyssa to go upstairs. From the hallway, Alyssa overhears him calming Carrie-Anne down, promising that nobody is going to take her away. Alyssa searches the house for answers. That's when she discovers a pair of blue contact lenses and Peggy's wallet. Ryan then comes upstairs and begs Alyssa not to tell anyone about Carrie-Anne. She agrees, hoping he'll let her leave, but Ryan realizes she's found Peggy's wallet. As Alyssa turns to go, he knocks her unconscious. When Alyssa wakes up, she's tied to a chair. Ryan finally reveals the truth. Carrie Ann never murdered their parents because she actually died years ago in the swing accident. Their parents blamed Ryan for her death and abused him for years until he finally snapped and killed them both. Ever since then, he's been kidnapping young women and forcing them to become Carrie Ann. When one failed, he simply found another. Now that Peggy has failed too, Ryan decides Alyssa will become his new Carrie Ann. Meanwhile, Sarah finally realizes something is wrong when she calls the house, and the call goes straight to Alyssa's voicemail. She begs Officer Weaver to go check Ryan's house while she rushes there herself. A short while later, Officer Weaver stops by the house to ask Ryan about the fight with Tyler. Sympathetic to Ryan's situation, he tells him to come to the station the next day to give a statement. Before leaving, he asks if he's seen Alyssa, but Ryan claims the last time he saw her was at school. Weaver accepts the answer and walks away, but something doesn't feel right. Just to be safe, he calls Alyssa's phone and hears it ringing from somewhere inside the house. Ryan grabs a knife and hides as Officer Weaver enters the house. When the officer calls out to him, Ryan suddenly attacks. Weaver reminds Ryan that he's always protected him, but Ryan replies that Weaver was only protecting himself because he knew the truth all along and could have stopped everything years ago. Ryan then stabs him to death. Meanwhile, Alyssa manages to free herself from the chair. When Ryan returns, she catches him off guard and escapes. Running through the house, she discovers Weaver's body, grabs his gun, and rushes outside to Ryan's car. She tries to flee in the car, but Ryan catches her before she can drive away. He knocks her unconscious with chloroform and locks her inside the trunk beside Peggy's body. Just then, Sarah arrives at the house looking for Alyssa. Ryan attacks and stabs her, but Sarah survives long enough to call out for her daughter. Hearing her mother's voice, Alyssa breaks free from the trunk and shoots Ryan. Even then, Ryan charges at her with a knife, forcing Sarah to strike him in the head with a hammer. Mother and daughter finally escape together. In the aftermath, Sarah and Alyssa move away while Ryan is committed to a psychiatric hospital. In the psychiatric ward, Ryan begins hearing the voices of his dead parents calling him Carrie Ann. A final flashback reveals the horrifying truth. After his sister died, his mother forced him to take her place, dressing and treating him as Carrie Ann. When young Ryan insists that his name is Ryan, she slaps him hard across the face and screams that he is Carrie Ann, revealing the years of abuse that destroyed his mind. The end. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time.